So you have the still very delusional seller who they are that 2020, they still think it's, COVID years or after, and they're stuck on what their friend or neighbor sold 3 years ago for.
Right.
And so they're just not even in the ballpark on price. You're going to make offers that are more in line with the market, and they're not going to even really negotiate with you.
I think I like you.
Welcome back to the Hamiltons Unlocked.
Welcome back, Jennie. We are Scott and Jennie Hamilton of the Hamiltons Unlocked. And we also happen to run a successful real estate sales team in North Metro Atlanta, helping people buy and sell real estate.
That's right. And today we're going to talk about how much buyers can actually negotiate in today's market. So just as like the quick little preface, we are in July of 2026, the very end of July. And so this will probably air, in a couple of weeks. Shouldn't change that much, but I just want to throw that out there because the market can change at any time. And this might become just like a completely unusable episode.
I don't think what we're going to talk about, though, is going to actually change that much.
Okay, that's fair.
We do have a war, but that's been going on. We've got other things. I don't think we're going to have a pandemic that's going to drastically change things. But given where we're at and where we think we're going, I think this is going to still be relevant.
Okay, fantastic. So take it away. Where should we start?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. How much can they negotiate? Is that the question?
How much can buyers negotiate in this market?
Yeah. I think there are still right now 3 sellers that are out there. That's it.
Okay.
There's
3 types of sellers.
3 types of sellers.
All right.
Which then presents 3 opportunities for buyers.
All right. Let's hear them.
So you have the still very delusional seller who also doesn't maybe have an agent that's consulting them, coaching them, pushing them in the right direction.
Okay.
And so they have priced their house just drastically out of the market.
Okay.
They are that 2020, they still think it's, COVID years or after, and they're stuck on what their friend or neighbor sold 3 years ago for.
Right.
And so they're just not even in the ballpark on price.
Do buyers have space to negotiate with those people?
Yes, absolutely. However, that seller isn't motivated. So guess what? You're going to be beating your head against the wall as a buyer because you're going to make offers that are more in line with the market, and they're not going to even really negotiate with you.
Right. So you have an opportunity to negotiate. You may even be quote unquote right, but it doesn't mean that that seller is going to accept your offer.
Yeah, I think we always tell people being right doesn't necessarily get you the house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And if you're a seller, the highest bidder keeps the house, one of our favorite lines. And if they have priced their home so far out of the market, they're probably not getting a lot of showings and activity. And then when they do, if you come in with a low offer, they're just going to think that the strategy of waiting it out makes sense.
Yeah.
And they may come around and come back to you, but there is a decent chance that that's just not someone who's really motivated to sell their house.
Yeah. It's the... Yeah. So, on those, we'll tell our clients if they're the buy side, like, hey, maybe wait around and see what happens. Give it 30, 60, 90 days. It's probably not going anywhere. And if it does, are you okay with that?
Right.
Most people are going to go, yeah, sure. I'm not going to pay that for that house anyway.
Sure. Okay. So what's the second type of seller?
Second type of seller is the one that's like, I realize it's not COVID years. I do want to push the market a bit. And so you're still a little aggressive on your price. Your condition of your house is good. It's relatively good. It's in the ballpark. There's probably, 3 to 5%, maybe 8% to negotiate off the house from where they price it.
Right.
But it's good. It's almost there.
Yeah.
And it's a nice house. So you still have some room to negotiate. Maybe you can come in and get closing costs or, still be able to negotiate off the purchase price and get some other things that you want. But those houses are going to sit now. We're seeing homes. The first category we talked about is expiring.
Yeah.
They're on the market 90 days, they expire, they come back on.
Right.
This category is going to sell. It's just going to take them 45 days.
And maybe they accept that lower offer.
Yeah. Maybe they reduce once.
Yeah. So this is a seller who wants to push the market, doesn't quote unquote want to leave any money on the table, right? And they won't, because most buyers aren't going to come in, especially in a market like we're in right now, and pay a price that they don't see as reasonable. But maybe the seller's reasonable. They just wanted to test the market. And they do get penalized with days on market. They get penalized with lower offers. They get penalized after they take price reductions. However, they're still going to be able to sell. And so that's really your best chance as a buyer to negotiate, right?
Yeah.
It's that property that looks good. They've probably pushed the the price, but the seller's still motivated and they just need to know that no one else is going to pay that price. And so we always encourage our buyers to make offers on those homes. So even if the price seems astronomical, let's make an offer. And same goes for category number 1. You just know pretty quickly if the seller's willing to play ball or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the third type of seller.
Yeah. And the third type of seller is the one that says, I realize they're motivated, first of all, and they need to sell their house, and they understand the different strategies of pricing. And they say, hey, look, I want to get out there. I want to be the best priced home, the best looking house in order to maybe get multiple offers and sell it pretty quick.
Right.
And those are ones that we're still having those where they'll sell in the first weekend or the second weekend. And I always say, the old, rather than price it high and then negotiate or drop it later, it's the old, why would we start? That's like dating someone and saying, I'll tell the truth in a few weeks.
Sure.
Why don't we just tell the truth from the beginning?
Right.
And they say, we'll tell the truth from the beginning, price it right. Let's get this thing moved.
Yeah. We always say, you can price to negotiate or price to sell.
Yeah.
And depending on which way you go is what you're going to get.
And then we can tell our buyers, hey, this house is priced right. This is great. I mean, we had one recently where we went in it and we were like, this house is actually underpriced. It's great. The condition was great. And our clients got the house. They paid a little bit above the list price, not COVID years above, and they got the house.
Yeah. And they were up against other offers.
Yeah.
Right. And so that lets us know that house was positioned. And when we talked to the agent about it afterwards, it was positioned to sell quickly based on the seller's desire. Right. And so that's the third type of seller. So as a buyer, you might not have a lot of negotiating room. Again, you're back to participating in multiple offers and going over list price. Right. So let's also talk about what are things that are important from a negotiation standpoint from a buyer's perspective.
Yep.
Okay, from a buyer's perspective that have nothing to do with the price.
Yeah, we're back to that now where if you're a buyer, you can get some of these things that you weren't able to get during COVID. So now if I'm a buyer, I'm putting my down payment down. And now I'm going to also have my closing costs on top of my down payment. Right. We can now sometimes be able to get those closing costs wrapped into the seller paying it.
Right.
So that was something that you couldn't get for years.
Yeah.
And now the closing costs are back on the table. And that's real cash out of a buyer's pocket that they don't have to bring to the table.
Yeah. Closing costs were something where I'm sure, when you got in the market 20 years ago and I got in, especially 15 years ago, because I got in during a down market, you pretty much counted on the seller paying all of your closing costs. It's a very normal thing.
I didn't have a buyer deal that didn't have them.
Right.
And almost all of your closing costs paid.
Yeah. Just about all of it, which can be 2 to 3% of a purchase price. So that's a lot of money. And then we moved into a market where that was completely like, you didn't even bother asking for closing costs. Right. You barely even need to fill out that part of the contract. That
you're like,
happening.
How much above the list price should I pay?
Right. Like closing costs were not even part of the conversation. And they've re-entered the conversation over the past couple of years. And so that's something that helps a buyer, because taking $10,000 off of a $500,000 house spread out over payments over 30 years. Yeah. You're just not looking at the same as the seller paying $10,000 towards closing costs, which is cash that you have to come with the day of closing. Right. And now you can take that same $10,000 that you've saved, right, and spend it on things for the house, or it just remains in your checking account. Yeah. And so that was a big thing. Other things I think that buyers can negotiate now that you have to remember are any seller concessions, but then also their timeframes. So we have been in a world where everything was advantageous towards the seller and buyers had very little time to do any due diligence, breathing room for financing and appraisal contingencies, possession after closing, etc. Now all of those things are just back into a world where things are pacing a little bit slower than they have been. What looks normal for us right now from a timeframe standpoint on due diligence days, financing, and appraisal?
Well, we know it because we're in it all the time. And we can tell when an agent that makes an offer on a listing of ours and they don't know it because they're asking for ridiculous amounts of time. But I think if you're looking for your due diligence time frame now, you can get 7 days, 10 days, maybe. It depends on the property and what obviously you need to inspect and have done. 7 days to 10 days is reasonable. Mm-hmm. When I started in the business, 14 to 21 days was kind of the norm. You're going to get your finance and appraisal contingencies usually. Now, we don't like to ask for those. We have strategy that we think works better, but on a typical offer, 10, 14 days of finance or appraisal contingency you can get back as a buyer now.
Yeah. And I think that just kind of like word to the wise, because we have seen this happen with clients. If you put that question into an AI system, it's going to give you a different answer.
Yeah,
and
it
that's
does.
because it's giving you an answer for a national market.
And we had a buyer recently that did that, and they're like,
Yes.
"Oh, the Chat GPT says that
It was
we
like
should be
21
getting-"
days or
Yeah, and we're
something.
like, "You absolutely. If you
haven't
want this
seen that.
house, you need 5."
Right. I haven't seen that at all. And so anyway, that's why it's important. And per market, it looks different, right? If we're sitting here, and we're selling houses in Austin, Texas or Chattanooga, Tennessee, we might have a different answer than we are in North Metro Atlanta. And so that's why it's important to work with a local expert. So just as a side note.
And some other things that you now can get that you weren't able to get before is personal property.
Right.
You can get additional, if you're the buyer, maybe you are buying a house and the seller has a washer and dryer and a refrigerator, and they have really nice patio furniture or some other things that you can now kind of get lumped into the purchase at no cost to you, which is money that you're saving.
Exactly. So last question I want to discuss quickly is, how can you tell when a seller is motivated? Like, as a buyer, what are signs that sellers can put out that says we're motivated?
Well, I think going back to our 1, 2, and 3 category,
Yeah.
they're that third seller where, you're leaning on us as the agent to be able to tell you also, but looking at homes every day and you go in them with the buyer, buyers will know. You walk in a house, you're like, wow, this house is cleaned up, it's buttoned up, ready to go. All the things are done on it, and it's priced well.
Right. And I think that number 2 seller, how do they signal to the market? Like, hey, we know we might have pushed it, but we still don't want you to ignore us. We're here. We're open to accepting offers. What might that look like?
Yeah, they've taken a price reduction, and we're seeing more of that now. There's a good amount of homes are having to take price improvements, price reductions, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah.
It's just saying, hey, we realized we messed up. We weren't telling the truth. We need to get honest.
Yeah, that's right. I always say a price reduction for our sellers is just raising your hand saying, hey, we're negotiable now, because buyers assume that maybe people aren't negotiable right up front. And so if you're overpriced and you're going to miss those first few weekends, and you're going to have to raise your hand and reduce that price in order to get buyers through the door. Not a great strategy from a seller side, but from a buyer side, that is a wonderful opportunity to then go in, because they're probably negotiable beyond that price reduction. And so keep that in mind. And those are signs you can look for, as well as days on market.
Yeah.
Yep. So buyers, if you want to negotiate right now, these are some of the signs. Also find a local expert to help you, so that you know that, because getting a good deal might look like getting it for 90% of the list price, and it also might look like getting it for 102% of the list price.
That's right. And you have to lean on us as the agent to be able to tell you what that looks like.
Exactly. Yep. So thanks for listening today, and we will see you next time on the Hamilton's Unlocked.
All right. See you next time, Jennie.
I'm in my element. Ooh, yeah.